Good afternoon, everybody. This is going to be our Scienza under 18 presentation. We are the class of Scuola Internazionale di Pavia, and here you go. This is our Museum of Science. This is the hall, and we're going to be starting with the circulatory system.
The circulatory system. The circulatory system is the set of organs whose task is to transport blood around the body. It is made up of the heart and blood vessels, like veins, arteries, and capillaries. The heart is a hollow muscle that is located in the chest, to be precise, between the two lungs and behind the breastbone. He has the responsibility of making the circulatory system work. The heart weighs around 300 grams in an adult and measures 13 centimeters in length and 9 centimeters in width. The heart is also a striated muscle, but unlike all other, it works autonomously. The heart is also lined with a membrane called the pericardium that isolates and protects it. The heart is divided into 4 parts. The right atrium, located in the upper right and has the task of receiving non-oxygenated blood. The right ventricle, located in the lower right and has the task of pumping the blood received from the right atrium. The left atrium, located in the upper left, and has the task of receiving oxygenated blood from the lungs. The left ventricle, which is located in the lower left, and has the task of pumping the blood received from the left atrium. The various atria and ventricles are divided from each other by valves, the task of which is to make the blood go in only one direction and avoid backflow. These valves are mitral valve and tricuspid valve, and between the arteries and the ventricles there are the semilunar valves. Okay. There are 3 types of blood vessels, and each one has a different characteristic. The arteries are the blood vessels that arise from the ventricles and carry oxygenated blood, except for the pulmonary arteries. The veins, that are the blood vessels that reach the atria and carry blood to the heart. The capillaries, that are the smallest blood vessel. Their task is to ensure respiratory and metabolic exchanges. The big and the small circulation. The great circulation begins when the left ventricle pumps blood into the aorta, which carries it throughout the body. The blood is then carried to the organs and cells. After this, the blood will then be passed through the kidneys, where it's cleared of potential unwanted germs and bacteria, and then returns to the heart in the right atrium. Heart diseases. There are many types of heart diseases, but the most famous are stroke, heart attack, high blood pressure, arrhythmia, and aneurysm.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Tommaso, and today I'm going to talk about the volcano. Before starting, I'm going to talk about how is a volcano made. A volcano is made by the vent, the crater, and the subconduction zone, while when a volcano erupts, creates volcanic bombs, lava flow, pyroclastic flow, acid rain, and ash rain. Then I'm going to talk about what happens when a volcano erupts. Volcanic eruptions are usually announced by a lot of earthquakes. They indicate the movement of the molten rock under the surface. When a volcano erupts, the gases and magma are directed to the Earth's surface and then escape from the volcano through the crater. Once at the surface, the magma takes the name of lava and can reach temperatures above 1200 degrees. Different types of eruptions. There are two types of volcanic eruptions, explosive and effusive. Explosive eruptions happen when magma eruption is ejected as fragments into the air, while an effusive eruption is a volcanic eruption in which magma is ejected from the volcano in the form of lava flows.
Good afternoon, everybody. Now it's going to be me, Sophia, and I'm going to be talking about the basics of biology. And here I'm going to be covering the what is biology and some examples, the characteristics of living organisms and cells, where I'm going to be talking what type of cells they are, what are cells, and things like this. First, I'm going to start with what is biology. So biology is the study of life in all living organisms, and the actual word comes from Greek, where bios means life and logos means study, so it is the study of life. And here in the picture, I've put some examples of some things that can be biology, which can go from the genetics to the medicine to cells to animals to everything. Here are some characteristics of living organisms, and they are divided into the movement, which is an action by an organism which causes a change of position or place. Then there is the respiration, which is the chemical reactions in cells that break down nutrients, molecules, and they release energy. And then there is sensitivity, which is the ability to detect and respond to changes in the environment. We also have the growth, which is a permanent increase in size. Then we have reproduction, which are the processes that make more of the same kind of living organism. And then finally, we have excretion, which is the removal from organisms of toxic materials and substances in excess of requirements, which are substances that we don't need in our body. We also have nutrition, which is the taking in of materials for energy, growth, and development. And here I've put pictures of foods because this is what us humans, what we get nutrited with, but obviously plants and animals, obviously they don't eat the same food that we do. Then I'm going to go more into cells. So I'm going to explain what are cells, how is the inside of a cell. I'm going to talk about cell division and what's that, and many different types of cells. So first I'm going to talk about what are cells. So cells are the smallest thing in our human body, but they are also present in animals and plants and in every single thing. And us humans, we are made up from at least 1 trillion cells, which is a lot. And cells communicate with each other to connect and give each other information. Cells also create tissues, which creates organs, which create apparatuses or systems, and these keep us alive. So inside of a cell, so we obviously have 2 different main type of the cells, which is the plant cell and the animal cell. So some differences between these 2 cells is that the chloroplasts and the cell wall are only present in the plant cell, so there are no traces of those in the animal cell, while the centrioles which are present in the animal cells are only present there, so no centrioles are in the in the plant cell. Sorry. So what is cell division? Cell division can also be called cell reproduction, and there are two types, so two methods. The first one is called mitosis, and it is the division of body cells which produce two daughter cells. While the second type is meiosis, which is the division of sex cells, which are also called the parent cells, and it occurs more than once, so twice or even more, and these produce four or more daughter cells. So if this occurred twice, there are gonna be two daughter cells. So types of cells. So as I already said, there are a lot of different types of cells, some of which are the stem cell, bone cell, blood cell, muscle cell, fat cell, skin cell, nerve cell, endothelial, sex, pancreatic, and cancer. But there are also some two other main very important ones, which are the eukaryotic and the prokaryotic. The eukaryotic ones are the cells with the nucleus, which can be either the uni or single-celled, or can be multinucleal. And while the prokaryotic, it has no cell at all. And now I'm gonna explain all of these different types. So the stem cell is the cells that are also called the mother cells, and we don't really know, and they don't really know what their function is unless it is required in their system. Then they are the bone cells, which are divided into three types, which are the osteoclast, which are the ones that dissolve the bone. Then there are the osteoblasts, which are the ones that form new bones, and then they are the osteocytes, which are surrounded by bones and help communicate with other bone cells for their needs. Then there are the muscle cells, which are the cells that form our muscles, which help us move and support, and some internal functions are also needed. Then there is the fat cells, which are also called the adipocytes, and they are the main consistent of the adipose tissue. Then there is the skin cells, which are the cells that create our skin, and our skin is everywhere, going from our face to our hands to our legs, everywhere. Then we have the nerve cells, which are also called the communication cells, because these are the ones that communicate with our nervous system in our body. Some nerve cells are called the neurons, and they consist of two major parts: the cell body and the nerve processes. And they are the endothelial cells, which are the ones that help us with the they are the ones that help us create the endothelial tissue. Then there are the sex cells, which are also, as I said before, called the parent cells, which are the ones that actually create other types of cells in the cell reproduction. And there are the pancreatic cells, which are the one from our pancreas, and cancer cells, which can also be called the tumor cells. So that was it for my part.
Now I'm going to talk about magnetic fields. How they are made. There are a modification or the deformation of the space caused by the presence of a magnet. how to indicate and which measure unit of measure use. Magnetic fields usually is indicated with the letter B, and the unit of measure that it uses is the Tesla with the symbol T. How to represent and two example of magnets. In picture there are two types of magnets. The one at the top is the bar magnet, and the one at the bottom is the horseshoe. It's possible to represent magnetic fields through fields line who enjoy the following properties. At each point of them are tangents to the magnetic field existing at that point. You can never intersect them. The intensity of the magnetic field is directly proportional to the density of lines present in a certain region of space. They always come out of the North Pole of a magnet and enter in the South Pole.
Now I will talk about the solar system. The solar system is made up by 8 planets, which are Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. These planets are divided into 2 main groups that are the terrestrial planets and the Jupiter planets. The terrestrial planets are the ones who are closer to the Sun, and they are Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. Mercury is a really small planet and has a revolution of 88 days and a rotation of 59 days. It has a temperature of 430 degrees in the Sun and of minus 107 degrees on the opposite side. Venus has a revolution of 225 days and a rotation of 243 days. It has a reverse rotation and many mountains and depressions. Last, it has a temperature of 460 degrees. Earth has a revolution of 365 days and a rotation of 24 hours. It has one satellite, which is the Moon. And finally, Mars has a revolution of 687 days, a rotation of 24 hours and 40 minutes, and a temperature of minus 25 degrees. Mars is red because of the iron oxides that contains. It has a very rarefied atmosphere, and here we can find the Mount Olympus, which is the highest mountain in the solar system, and it is 25 kilometers. The satellites. The Moon is Earth's only satellite. It is almost spherical, and it has a rotation on its axis, a revolution around the Earth, which is called the sidereal month, and a translation around the Sun together with the Earth. We always see the same phase of the Moon because the rotation and the revolution take the same time. Then we have Jupiter planets. The Jupiter planets are Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Jupiter is a really big planet. It has a revolution of 12 years, a rotation of 10 hours, and a temperature of minus 153 degrees Celsius. We can find parallel bands and adids, and its surface is mainly made up of a liquid hydrogen ocean. Saturn has a revolution of 30 years and a rotation of over 10 hours. And Saturn is formed by an envelope of cold gases that are minus 185 degrees Celsius, and it is the least dense planet of the solar system. It has a ring system made up of debris and ice and dust, and it has 45 satellites. Uranus has a revolution of 84 years and a rotation of 17 hours. It is a really cold planet of minus 200 degrees Celsius, and it has an axis of rotation parallel to the orbit. This causes 42 years of sun and 42 years of night. It's made of dust and ice rings, and it has an atmosphere of hydrogen, helium, and methane. Neptune has a revolution of 165 years and a rotation of 16 hours and a temperature of minus 20 degrees Celsius. It has a gaseous atmosphere, and it has 3 rings and 4 satellites.
Now I'm gonna talk about the oceans. The ocean is the set of vast expanses of salt water present on the Earth's surface. It is a single and continuous complex which surrounds the continents and the islands, and which include most of the Earth's surface, about 70% of the total surface. In the ocean, understood as single complex large masses of water, and distinguished, delimited by continents, called themselves oceans, such as the Atlantic, Pacific, and Indian Oceans, within which they are sometimes wished smaller expanses of water called dependencies, such as the Mediterranean and the Red Sea. The term ocean can also be used in contrast with sea, and in this case, the discriminating element is the size. The seas are in fact marginal inlets with respect to the oceans, and are generally different from the geological characteristics of the seabed. The tides. The tide is an ocean phenomenon consisting of large masses of water, oceans, seas, and large lakes that rise, flow, high tide, and fall, ebb, low tide, up to 10-50 meters in the Bay of Mont-Saint-Michel, with a day frequency or a fraction of a day, approximately every 6 hours, a quarter of a Earth day. Through the combination of 2 factors, the gravitational attraction exerted on the Earth by the Moon, which, despite being about 200 times less intense than the attraction exerted by the Sun, is the main cause of the tides, as a consequence of a fact that the measurement of the Earth's diameter is not entirely negligible compared to the distance between the Moon and the Earth, while it is relative to the distance between the Earth and the Sun. The centrifugal force to the rotation of the Earth-Moon system around its center of mass. The environment in the oceans. 80% of marine pollution is processed on land. Fertilizers, pesticides, and chemicals put our seas to the test. A huge problem for coastal areas is represented by the runoff of fertilizers used in the fields, which through the rivers end up in the seas.
Okay, now let's talk about the engines and the different cars. Okay, the first engine was invented in the 1854. The Brasanti and Machinucci internal combustion engine was the first example of an internal combustion engine used for tools. Okay, now in this photo we can see the first car. It was invented by the patent motor wagon, also nicknamed is Velocipede, is a car produced from the 1886 to 1894 by the German car manufacturer Benz and Chia. It is the first car in history with an internal combustion engine. Two-stroke motor. The two-stroke engine was the first engine. In fact, its operation is very easy. It was invented by the engineer Douglas Clark in 1879 and first experimented in 1888 by Carban. The two-stroke engine is a type of internal combustion engine powered by a fuel system. Is discharge spent production exhaust gas via an exhaust system. There we can see the four-stroke motor. We can see the image, and the four-stroke motor is a engine is the best known heat engine in the world because it's commonly used in the cars, and there are various types of this capable of burning many types of fossil or natural fuels, such as petrol, diesel, methane, GPL, methanol, E85 and E95. Now I spoke about new fuels. New fuels is the future of the car, such as hydrogen, which is very dangerous but low polluting, or fuels that go to low grade material from industries to use that energy and not throw it away, like electricity. And this is the future of the car and the motor in general.